When Ghost Rider called out, the sky tore open like a trail of fire. The Avengers thought he was their enemy, but he was looking for someone else. Superman had already turned against them, and no one knew why. Two hellborn forces, one a burning soul, the other a solar god, stood against the same team. For the first time, the Avengers felt like someone else had written the rules of power. Ghost Rider's chain reflected in Superman's eyes, and both said the same words, "Not this time." When Captain America raised his shield, the ground split in two, but the decision had already been made in the sky. This wasn't a battle, it was vengeance. And the Avengers were first on the list. The sky cracked open, not from thunder, not from invasion, but from a scream. It wasn't human, it wasn't alien. It was the road itself, torn from the sky, flaming, spinning, dragging chains of fire behind it. A wheel of hell burned through the clouds like a divine warning. New York stood still as people looked up and whispered one name they hadn't heard in years. Ghost Rider. Not the one they remembered. This one didn't ride a motorcycle. He didn't wear leather. He wasn't here for vengeance. He was here for judgment. Avengers Tower flared into red alerts. Iron Man was already in the air. Reed, I've got an energy reading I don't recognize. Looks demonic. Reed Richards didn't answer. The feed had gone dead. Thor hurled Mjolnir into the storm above, trying to find the source, but his hammer was slapped back down by nothing. Or maybe by something faster than thunder. Captain America stood on the helipad, jaw clenched, watching the sky burn. That's not a storm, that's a message. Black Widow was already patching into the satellites. He's not alone, she said. There's another signature. It's solar, Kryptonian. Silence. Then a ripple of power shook the clouds. Red lightning burst through the sky like blood veins across heaven. Then came the roar, not mechanical, not magical, but something cosmic, primal. He landed without sound. No sonic boom, no earthquake, just presence. Superman stood in front of Avengers Tower, not asking for entry, not knocking. His eyes glowed, not the usual heat vision red. This time, it flickered with solar flares. Controlled rage. Not wild, but dangerous. Every atom of him held back like a collapsing star. Iron Man hovered in front of him. We weren't expecting you. Superman didn't smile. I didn't come for greetings. Thor landed beside Iron Man, hammer spinning, his voice deep and cautious. Kal-El, speak your purpose. Superman's gaze rose slightly. You destroyed a being you didn't understand. You erased it from existence. And now, the universe wants an answer. Captain America stepped forward. What are you talking about? Behind him, the air shattered like glass. Ghost Rider walked through the broken fragments of reality, dragging a molten chain behind him. No bike, no theatrics, just fire. I told him not to come, Ghost Rider said, voice like gravel soaked in gasoline. I told him the Avengers wouldn't confess, but he insisted, said you still had hope. The chain snapped once in the air, and it left sparks that hung like stars. Captain Marvel flew down, confused. Who did we destroy? Superman turned, eyes locking on hers. You called it a threat, labeled it hostile, but it came here to warn Earth, and you killed it. Carol narrowed her eyes. You mean the cosmic signal from 3 months ago? That was destabilizing our orbit. We saved this planet. You saved it, Ghost Rider said, from the only being that could have protected it from what's coming. Iron Man's sensors went wild. This isn't how this works. We don't answer to either of you. You do now, Superman replied. Thor raised Mjolnir. You speak of judgment. That's not your place. Superman didn't even blink. It wasn't. Until I saw the footage. Until I felt what you tried to erase. And then it played, in every Avengers earpiece. A memory, a visual, a moment they thought was gone. The cosmic being floating near Earth, hands raised in peace. And the order, fire now. The footage had been sealed, buried. Who gave that order? Cap asked, slowly turning his head toward Iron Man. Ghost Rider laughed, a deep burning sound. Now we're asking the right questions. Iron Man didn't deny it. He didn't have to. The weight in his silence said enough. Black Panther stepped forward. We make mistakes. We don't hide them, but we don't answer to threats either. Ghost Rider stepped closer, chain dragging across the rooftop, leaving molten lines in the concrete. You don't answer to threats, but you will answer to truth. Thor moved to stop him, but Ghost Rider's hand flashed. Not an attack, just a look. Thor stopped, not because of fear, but because he saw something behind the flames. A soul, a story, a reason. Superman didn't flinch. We're not here to destroy you. Not yet. But you need to understand something. His feet lifted from the ground, slow and controlled. Earth isn't just protected by the Avengers anymore. You don't have a monopoly on justice. Iron Man's voice cracked through the comms. So what? You're declaring war? No, Superman said. You already did. Then he vanished, one blur into the sky. And for the first time in a long time, the Avengers didn't know who the enemy was. Ghost Rider turned his burning skull toward Captain America. This was just the warning. He still believes you can fix it. Me? I'm not so patient. And with that, the chain coiled around him. The flames roared upward, and he vanished into smoke and silence. Cap looked around. No one spoke, because for the first time, it wasn't about saving the world. It was about explaining to it why they burned it first. The Avengers gathered in silence, not around a table, not in formation, just present, each one processing what had just happened. Ghost Rider hadn't come to fight. Superman hadn't come to ask. They came to reveal, and now the world felt heavier. Iron Man paced in the hangar, his armor off, but his reactor still pulsing, faster than usual. You all saw it. That wasn't a threat. That was a coordinated message. Black Widow crossed her arms. And you didn't deny the footage. Tony stopped walking. Because it's real. The air shifted. Tension crackled. Thor gripped his hammer tighter. You gave the order to eliminate a cosmic being who showed no signs of aggression. Tony's voice was low. It was emitting radiation. I made the call, and I'd make it again. Bruce looked up from the shadows. Even if that being was trying to save us from something worse. Tony turned to him, jaw clenched. You weren't there. You didn't see what I saw. That thing was warping satellites, frying biosignals, dragging the moon 2 degrees. I didn't know it could talk. You didn't ask, Natasha said coldly. Captain America stood still, eyes locked on nothing. We all signed off on global decisions, but no one signed off on this. From the far end, Sam Wilson entered with a datapad. Every satellite in orbit was hit with some kind of warning mark, burned into the metal. Looks like a symbol. He turned the pad. A flaming wheel. Ghost Rider's mark. This isn't revenge, Steve said. This is a trial. Then where's the judge? Thor growled. A door creaked open. No alarms. No motion sensors. But everyone turned. Ghost Rider walked into the war room like he'd always belonged there. No bike. No theatrics. Just fire under his feet and a silence that dared anyone to speak first. Tony raised his palm. We're done with surprises. You don't get to be done, Ghost Rider said. Not until the judgment is complete. Cap stood between them. We're listening. So talk. Ghost Rider didn't speak immediately. He looked at them like souls, not heroes. Then he pointed to Tony. You killed the Herald of Elyon. The name meant nothing to most of them. Not until Rider raised a hand and ignited a vision. The room flickered. They saw it. A luminous being, floating, gentle, eyes like starlight, projecting protective shields across multiple planets, shielding Earth from gamma storms, carrying orphaned civilizations from collapsing systems. A being that had done nothing but guard life. And Earth had fired first. The vision ended. The silence deepened. Why didn't we know? Cap whispered. Because someone made sure it looked like an attack, Ghost Rider said, eyes glowing hotter now. Satellites malfunctioned. Evidence disappeared. Reports erased. He stepped closer to Tony. The only record that survived was your guilt. Tony didn't flinch. You think I was hiding it? I was trying to protect the planet. You are protecting your reputation, Ghost Rider said. Thor moved fast, Mjolnir up. Enough. This isn't justice. It's intimidation. Ghost Rider didn't even move. Mjolnir froze midair. Stopped. Held in place. But not by Rider. Superman hovered above them, his hand around the hammer's arc, holding it back mid-throw. Gently, effortlessly. The universe doesn't care about your politics, he said. He floated down, Mjolnir dropping to the floor with a clang. You're not under attack. You're being warned. Steve narrowed his eyes. Warned of what? Of what's coming, Superman replied. The Herald was shielding Earth from something none of your tech can see. Black Panther spoke from the shadows. And now that it's gone, Superman's tone didn't change. Now it sees you. Ghost Rider nodded. And now I see all of you. Carol stepped forward, defiant. Then do it. Judge me. If I'm guilty, I'll take the punishment. But Ghost Rider shook his head. You're not the one I came to burn. His head turned to Tony. I gave him one day, Superman said. One chance to fix what he broke, or I walk away. Tony looked around at them. You think this is about me, but when whatever comes arrives, you'll be begging for what I did. No, Superman said. You'll be begging that someone listens before they shoot. Then, something unexpected. Bruce stepped forward. Not as Hulk, just Bruce. I reviewed the satellite data. The Herald wasn't attacking. The shift in the moon's gravity was corrective. It was fixing something we broke. Rider's flames dimmed slightly. Bruce looked at Tony. You didn't misread the situation. You just never waited for the full picture. That's the difference between scientists and soldiers, Tony said. No, Superman said. That's the difference between reaction and responsibility. Then a scream pierced the tower. Not human. Not machine. The sky outside glowed red. Incoming. The Herald species, or what was left of them, had returned. Not peaceful. Not kind. And not alone. Ghost Riders, head turned toward the firestorm rising above Earth. They weren't the threat, he said. But what killed them became one. Captain America raised his shield. Superman's cape flared. Ghost Rider's chain uncoiled like a serpent preparing to strike. And the Avengers realized something that shattered everything they thought they knew. They weren't Earth's defenders anymore. They were the ones on trial. The sky was burning. Not like before, not just flames, but memory. Red streaks carved into the atmosphere, like scars refusing to fade. Above Earth, a fleet shimmered into view. Not metal, not stone, organic, living ships, pulsing with vengeance. Superman hovered at the edge of the stratosphere, arms crossed, eyes glowing. He didn't flinch. He didn't blink. He had already seen this in his mind. He didn't come to fight for Earth. He came to decide if it was worth saving. Below him, Ghost Rider stood atop Avengers Tower. His chain coiled like a serpent across the rooftop, heat searing through vibranium plating. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't move. He simply waited, like the executioner always arrives after the verdict. Inside the war room, chaos. We need a full global alert, Sam said, shouting over the comms. That fleet is heading toward major satellites, StarkNet, Wakandan sky shields, everything. Those ships aren't firing, Banner said, scanning data. They're watching. Not ships, vision corrected. Organisms, grieving ones. Tony was already in the suit, not to run, but to take blame and armor. We need options. Defense positions. Space grid lockdown. Call Sword. I'll stall them. You're not stalling anyone, Natasha snapped. This isn't an alien war. This is justice bleeding through the sky. Outside, Superman raised a single hand. The fleet paused. No sound, no weapons, just stillness. The kind that only exists between regret and rage. They want me to choose, Superman whispered, his voice vibrating through Earth's magnetic field. And then came the voice, not from Earth, not from above, but from between dimensions. Ghost Rider's voice, amplified by guilt and hell itself. They're letting you choose, he said, because they still believe in redemption. The skies flashed again. This time it wasn't an attack. It was a memory. A massive hologram projected above Earth, visible to the entire world. A replay of the Herald's final moments. No sound, just images. A being glowing with life, hands raised in surrender. A blast from Earth, disintegration, then silence. Cities froze. Children stared at the sky. And for the first time, Earth saw what their heroes had done, unprovoked, premature, covered up. The illusion of righteousness shattered in 18 seconds. In the war room, Cap dropped his shield. Not out of fear, out of honesty. "We failed," he said. Thor turned to him. "We protect this planet." "We reacted," Cap replied. "We never asked who we were protecting it from." Tony's voice cracked through the channel. "I'm taking the blame. Let the rest go." But the voice from the heavens returned, deep, ancient, burning. No one escapes judgment. Superman descended slowly, boots hovering just above the rooftop. There's still a choice. There's still time to fix what's broken. Carol landed beside him, furious. "They're about to attack. You really think speeches will save us?" Superman didn't look at her. "You're not listening. They don't want war. They want acknowledgement." "Then give it to them," said Ghost Rider. "I can't speak for Earth," Superman said. "But they can." The Avengers assembled on the rooftop, exposed to the sky. Their image beamed across every satellite, every screen. No armor could hide them now. No weapon could erase what had already been shown. The world watched and waited. Captain America stepped forward. "We were wrong. We didn't wait. We didn't ask. We didn't know what that being came to do. But we acted anyway. That mistake cost a life. A protector. A being of peace." Ghost Rider's flames dimmed. Cap continued. "If judgment means facing the truth, then we accept it." Tony unmasked. He looked straight up. "I gave the order. The intel was rushed. The risk felt real. But it wasn't. It was my mistake. Mine alone." Then he dropped to his knees. Not for show. Not for strategy. For the first time in his life, Tony Stark didn't have a plan, just regret. Ghost Rider watched, unmoving. Superman spoke. "The fleet is listening." Above, the living ships glowed a cooler blue, no longer red. The skies began to dim, not fade, but breathe, until one last voice came through, soft and cosmic. "You admitted it." The flagship descended, slowly forming into a humanoid being. Light and shadow, grief and presence. It hovered before the Avengers like a celestial memory. "You destroyed what you feared," it said. "Now you must protect what you failed." Thor stepped forward, confused. "Protect what?" The Celestial nodded toward Ghost Rider. "A new threat comes. Far worse than anything you've seen. The Herald came to warn you. You killed the message. Now protect the meaning." Carol's eyes widened. "You're not here to kill us?" "We were," the being said. "But now we're here to prepare you." Then, slowly, it looked at Ghost Rider. "You're done." The flames around Ghost Rider flared, then slowly faded. He didn't speak, just nodded, then turned and vanished. Superman hovered, silent. Cap looked up. "You staying?" Superman's cape rippled in the wind. "Not yet. You've still got work to do. And Earth still hasn't learned how to listen." Then he took off, straight into the stars. And the skies, once again, were quiet. But this time, not from fear. This time, from understanding. Silence settled over Earth like smoke after fire. The stars had shifted. The fleet had vanished. But their warning echoed through every comm, every screen, every mind. And the Avengers stood exposed, not as saviors, but as students of their own mistake. The world didn't cheer. It watched, judged. Then came the aftershock, not cosmic, not violent. Internal. Wakanda froze interstellar communication for security audits. Stark satellites entered emergency lockdown. SHIELD issued a quiet statement. Errors were made. And across the globe, murals of the fallen herald began appearing. Glowing eyes painted in defiance of silence. Ghost Rider's mark was carved into the digital consciousness of the planet. In the war room, no one raised their voice. Banner stared at scans of the space anomaly left behind by the fleet. The energy signature they left. It's not a warning. What is it? Natasha asked. Bruce zoomed in. It's a door, half open, and it's waking something. Iron Man said nothing. He was already back at his workbench, building something new, not a weapon, but a message beacon. One built to transmit apology, not dominance. Steve watched him, arms crossed. That won't fix what happened. Tony nodded. But it might prove we're not the same people anymore. Outside, Ghost Rider reappeared near a forgotten outpost in Nevada. Desert wind howled through broken fences and dusted roads. He stood in front of a man who hadn't been seen in years. Nick Fury. You watched it all, Rider said. Fury lit a cigar. I've seen worse. But this one cuts deep. You buried the Herald's data, Rider said. Fury exhaled slowly. I classified it. There's a difference. There's a cost, Ghost Rider replied. And the debt's not paid. Fury looked up. Is it ever? Ghost Rider turned away, but paused. Something else is coming. I figured, Fury said. Something always does. This one won't talk first, Rider warned. It won't wait. It will strike. No misreads. No mercy. Back in the tower, Vision floated silently in the center of the room. There's a pattern in the Herald's energy, he said. Coordinates mapped through star drift. Black Panther studied the data. Coordinates to what? Vision raised his head. To where the Herald was going next. Before we stopped him. Cap narrowed his eyes. Another world? No, Vision said. A weapon. One he meant to awaken. One strong enough to stop what's coming. Tony looked up from his work. Then we find it. Carol tightened her fists. And we don't shoot first this time. Steve nodded. We listen. We learn. We fix this. Thor raised Mjolnir. And if we fail? No one answered. Because they knew this time, failure wouldn't bring judgment. It would bring extinction. And somewhere in the deep vacuum between galaxies, a cold shape moved. Not a ship, not a god, but something older than light. And it had heard Earth's confession, and it did not care. The signal came at midnight, not on human frequencies, but inside dreams. Telepods collapsed. Mutants screamed. Even machines began to tremble. Something ancient had heard Earth's voice, and now it was speaking back. Superman returned first. No sonic boom, just the shift of gravity across the upper sky. His face said everything, no words needed. It's awake, he said. Ghost Rider rode in silence across the desert. No flames this time, just smoke. He stopped at a crater that hadn't been there yesterday. In its center, a pulse. Black fire flickering backward, as if time itself was burning in reverse. This isn't a being, Ghost Rider muttered. It's a consequence. In Avengers Tower, panic didn't rise. Precision did. Tony, Steve, and Chala were already building something they couldn't name. A failsafe, a beacon, maybe a coffin. Banner's hands were shaking. It doesn't want conquest. It doesn't even want revenge. What does it want? Natasha asked. To finish the correction. Far above Earth, Vision intercepted its shape. A star eater, not just consuming suns, but rewriting gravity. It wasn't alive in the traditional sense. It was an echo of destroyed futures, hunting civilizations that interfered with balance. The Herald hadn't come to warn Earth of it. The Herald had been trying to contain it, but Earth killed the container. Now, the void was open. Superman flew toward it alone, not because he could stop it, but because someone had to stand between it and the planet, even for a second. And in that second, the universe paused. A message, not in words, but pressure, pressed into Superman's skull like a tidal wave. You were warned. His heat vision blazed, carving entire wavelengths of light into space, trying to buy time. But the being didn't flinch. It didn't attack. It consumed reality like memory, stripping moments from existence. Then came Ghost Rider. He didn't speak. He didn't roar. He rode straight into the event horizon, and the flames of hell turned blue. Time bent. The creature noticed, not because it feared him, but because it recognized him. Ghost Rider stared into the void and whispered, "This is the price of silence." The creature pushed back. Earth trembled. Avengers leapt into the sky together, not as heroes, not as warriors, but as consequences of their own legacy. Captain America threw his shield, not to strike, but to reflect sunlight into the darkness. Carol unleashed photon energy that burned holes through gravity. Iron Man released Stark Protocol Zero, a detonation of all unused armors to create one last message across the stars. We take responsibility. Superman, blood trailing from his mouth, looked at Ghost Rider. Is it enough? No, Ghost Rider said, but it's not for us to decide. Then a sound from the creature. Not rage, not hunger, but withdrawal. It stopped moving forward, not defeated, just acknowledged. The stars stopped shaking, the cold faded, and the void pulled back, not in peace, but in pause. The threat was not gone, only watching, waiting. Earth exhaled. Superman fell to one knee. Ghost Rider vanished without a word. And the Avengers? They didn't cheer. They didn't declare victory. They rebuilt the sky and swore next time they would listen before they judged. Because the universe didn't need more heroes. It needed fewer regrets.